In a cozy little village nestled between rolling hills and whispering woods, lived a kind old shoemaker and his loving wife. Their hands were skilled, but their pockets were empty. Day after day, the shoemaker would sit at his workbench, meticulously cutting and stitching leather, but he could barely make enough to buy bread. His wife would watch him with a gentle sadness in her eyes, her heart aching for their troubles. One evening, after a particularly long and fruitless day, the shoemaker had just enough leather left for a single pair of shoes. With a heavy sigh, he cut out the pieces, laying them on his workbench, ready to be stitched in the morning. He was too tired, too disheartened to continue. He and his wife shared a meager supper and went to bed, their dreams filled with worries. But as the moon climbed high into the starry sky, something truly magical happened. While the village slept, tiny, mysterious figures crept into the shoemaker's quiet workshop. They were elves, with nimble fingers and mischievous smiles. They hopped onto the workbench, picked up the needles and thread, and with a flick and a flash, they began to work. Their movements were a blur of speed and precision, their stitches perfect, their craftsmanship beyond compare. The next morning, the sun streamed into the workshop, casting a golden glow. The shoemaker walked to his bench, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, and then he froze. There, where he had left the plain pieces of leather, sat the most magnificent pair of shoes he had ever seen. The stitches were so fine they were almost invisible, the leather polished to a brilliant shine, and the design so elegant it was fit for a king. He called for his wife, and together they marveled at the masterpiece. They couldn't understand it. Was it a dream? Later that day, a wealthy merchant passed by the shop and was immediately captivated by the beautiful shoes. He paid a price so high that the shoemaker could buy not only food for the week, but also enough leather for 2 new pairs of shoes. Overjoyed, the shoemaker once again cut the leather in the evening and left it on his workbench, wondering if the magic would happen again. And it did. The next morning, 2 pairs of even more splendid shoes were waiting for him, and so it continued, night after night. Whatever leather the shoemaker cut out was transformed into exquisite footwear by morning. Soon their little shop was famous. People came from far and wide to buy the magical shoes, and the shoemaker and his wife were no longer poor. Their lives were filled with comfort and joy, but also with a deep sense of curiosity and gratitude. "We must find out who our secret helpers are," the wife said one night. "We must thank them for their incredible kindness." So, just before Christmas, they decided not to go to bed. Instead, they hid behind a curtain in the workshop. Jegic serds buzala visru inem. As the clock struck midnight, they watched in astonishment as a group of tiny elves, dressed in tattered rags, scurried into the room and set to work. Seeing the hard-working elves shivering in their worn-out clothes, the shoemaker's wife had an idea. The next day, she and her husband didn't buy more leather. Instead, they bought the softest wool and the finest thread. Together, they lovingly crafted tiny shirts. trousers, and little pairs of warm shoes, one for each of their magical friends. That evening, they laid out the gifts on the workbench instead of the leather. When the elves arrived, they saw the beautiful new clothes. Their eyes widened with delight. They quickly dressed in their new outfits, dancing and singing with pure joy. They knew their work was done and that their kindness had been returned with kindness. From that day on, the elves were never seen again, but the shoemaker and his wife lived happily and prosperously, never forgetting the magical gift of gratitude and the little friends who had changed their lives forever. I hope you enjoyed this magical tale. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more wonderful stories. Thanks for watching and see you next time.